Or anything else? I think highly likely. Are we gonna have a? We could just continue. Mr. President, I think we're so generally agreed. The problem, Mr. President,
Mr. President, do you see it as a test that Vladimir Putin has banned Alexei Navalny's political organization? Will you resume travel? Sir, will you resume travel between the UK and the US?
So you could hear them, well, maybe you couldn't hear, or you could hear is really reporters trying to ask some questions to President Joe Biden and Prime Minister Boris Johnson. But I can tell you, for going to have, we've seen already they're exchanging, both leaders really exchanging pleasantries. And a little detail, I don't know if you caught this as well, Alette, that they both, Biden quipped, that he and Johnson had married up.
Yes.
So the sense of humour is there, and I think that will sit really well with Prime Minister Boris Johnson. But before we showed the viewers that clip, we were talking about the different personalities.
Right.
How do you think that relationship will be strengthened in the next few days?
Well, President Biden has said that one of his main focuses here is that he wants to focus on that special relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom. There's been some reporting that Prime Minister Johnson doesn't exactly like that phrase.
No, he doesn't like it because he thinks it looks like the UK is looking down somewhat at the United States.
But it's going to be critical for Biden, who values that face-to-face interactions with people, to start his own personal relationship with Boris Johnson here in person, as he is looking to cultivate so many areas of agreement when it comes to the pandemic and climate change, and also trying to confront China. And so one thing that's also been so interesting, President Biden once compared Boris Johnson, he said that he was the physical and emotional clone of former President Trump.
I remember that.
We know that Johnson shared very warm relations with the former president. So President Biden now is trying to step in and take the reins as he's trying to guide the United States foreign policy and their objectives with the UK, now also that President Trump is out of office.
I appreciate you sitting with me, going through these images. The first time, of course, we've seen these two together post-pandemic, an important time in politics, of course, unprecedented time, of course, in geopolitics. And that's it from me. I'll be back, of course, at the top of the next hour, but for now, I would like to hand back to my colleague, Becky Anderson. Becky.
Thank you very much, Indy. Good stuff. We are up and running at G7. More news coming up after the break. Away from that, a brutal second wave of COVID infections rips through Uganda. Why the government there says wealthier nations could have done more to help prevent the crisis. And we will check in on one of the worst COVID outbreaks in the world. India finally begins to really account for the staggering toll of the disease. You're watching a special edition of Connect the World, live from Abu Dhabi and Falmouth in England. Today, stay with us.
I'm Stanley Tucci. I'm fascinated by my Italian heritage, so I'm traveling across Italy to discover how the food is as unique as the people and their past.
We're hungry, right?
Starving. Come with me as I taste the flavors of the land and sea.
Let's go fishing!
To discover what the food tells us about the people that craft it. Wow. And its distinct regions. The maestro is making a pizza for me.
Oh, God. That's one of the best martinis I've ever had in my life.
If you don't believe in God, you believe in tortellini. It's like a religion.
Oh, wow. This dish tells a story.
Ciao, ciao.
It has survived the darkest of times.
That's the best sushi I've ever had.
A CNN original series, Stanley Tucci, Searching for Italy, premieres June 20th.
I want this show, One World, to be a place where people watching from all corners of the globe can understand why what happens in Africa has a huge impact on all of our lives in ways we might never even know. Because of my background, I am well aware of the vibrancy of this continent, and I want to show that to the world. People of my continent do deserve to be heard. We are rich in ways beyond the soil beneath our feet.
One World with Zain Asher, tonight on CNN.
In the hub,
Where East meets West, CNN Arabic is perfectly placed to find the facts. This is where stories happen. Politics, business, culture, real life. As the pace of change moves faster, we ask the important question. What is the truth? This is CNNArabic.com.
You're watching Connect World with me, Becky Anderson. Getting vaccines into arms around the world will be a top priority at what is the G7 summit in Cornwall over the next few days, especially to people in African countries. US President Joe Biden is expected to announce later a big step for that effort. US officials say that the US will donate 500 million doses of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine globally. They can't come soon enough in places like Uganda, for example, where COVID infections have skyrocketed. The government believes that could have been avoided if rich countries hadn't hoarded vaccine doses. Larry Madowo now reports.
Kampala's main stadium, now a temporary hospital for COVID patients. The Ugandan government says this makeshift treatment center is only for mild to moderate cases. But CNN witnessed a body being carted away. Last week, the World Health Organization says cases here were up 137%, the second straight week of triple-digit spike in infections. Across town, 40-year-old Stephen Tambi was finally well enough to be taken off a ventilator just hours before we arrived.
You know what, I have a second chance. People shouldn't play with their lives recklessly when it comes to COVID. The way I feel now, I feel like God has given me 1,000 more years.
It's all hands on deck at this hospital. The ICU has been over capacity for the last 2 weeks, even after adding 50% more beds. They keep turning away new patients who need critical care.
I believe we had a bed, but then we got emergencies and we may have used up the bed.
But the calls keep coming. How many similar calls have you had today?
I don't know if I could say over 15 calls just since morning.
Every patient in this wing of this small private hospital is on life support. It's also taking a strain on the staff, some of whom have had to do 24-hour shifts because the need is far greater than the medical professionals available. The average age of the patients is 40, doctors tell us. The youngest was only 18.
Why exactly are we seeing young people? One is that for sure it's a more aggressive strain. But the other thing also could be that, you know, after the first wave, we might have gotten quite excited enough to slacken on our preventive measures.
It's a crisis that could have been avoided, says Uganda's top health official.
If we got this vaccine at the end of last wave, our community would be much better than what we are experiencing now.
Considering you have only vaccinated 2% of the Ugandan population, when will you have enough people vaccinated that life can return to normal here?
I cannot answer that because I'm not in charge of, I cannot access the vaccines. If I could access the vaccines, even tomorrow would conduct a nationwide campaign and vaccinate.
With almost all Ugandans unvaccinated, the government warns that each positive person could infect between 80 to 100 people. Uganda has strict